All right, so now the Knights of the Seven Kingdoms TV show has wrapped up, and I've seen all the 6 episodes, and I thought it was great. Everything was great. It was a perfect show. There was nothing I didn't like or anything, so I thought, nah, okay, I have reviewed it sort of on this channel, but But I have nothing more to say than it's good. So I thought, I want to talk about Game of Thrones. That's what I want to talk about. Because it seems like people have forgotten how great Game of Thrones really was. Because people are really praising Knights of the Seven Kingdoms, which are, of course, they should. It's a great show. But I saw that somewhere on YouTube or someone said, the episode 5 of Knights of the Seven Kingdoms is better than season 6, episode 9, Battle of the Bastards. Well, yeah, they talk about plot holes and the Sansa thing. They never told Jon Snow or Arya. No, Arya isn't there. Jon Snow. Yeah, about the whole the veil thing and everything. And I was like, yeah. So the later seasons, here's my thing with plot holes. I don't care. I don't care about plot holes if the characters are clear. If the arcs are clear-ish. If you care about the characters. Plot holes for me can be you can say to yourself, well, you can give yourself headcanon, well, they didn't do that because of whatever, whatever. Personally, I don't care about plot holes so much. But in later seasons, especially season 8, it piles up. And then, even a person like me can be like, okay. But I do see myself as a Game of Thrones season 8 apologist. I think it's the weakest seasons, yes. I think it's way too rushed. It could have been 2 seasons, instead of 6 episodes. And a whole Night King thing, okay, it's built up like it's the worst thing ever, and it's no, they took care of it. It's fine. They took care of it. And so, but there's a lot of things I like about season 8, and there's a reason why I kind of am defending it. Because if you take a look at Walking Dead, for example. Walking Dead is a show that people have forgotten how great it was. How it was so popular, that show. People loved it. People have forgotten how great the earlier seasons was. 1 to 6. Then it... So I love The Walking Dead, but I have never seen season 11. I can't. Because it's so shit. It's the writing is tiresome. It's nothing new, and Rick is gone, and it looks cheap. While season 8 of Game of Thrones, the writing isn't necessarily great, but the writing still has some sort of interesting things happening. Compared to Walking Dead, where it's nothing really interesting either. It feels forced, everything, and. Also in season 7 and 8, 6, 7 and 8, the budget is so big, and so especially in season 8, I can say they do have sequence, especially the episode 3, the Long Night, season 8. They do have so many interesting, the direction, the reporter, whatever the fuck his name is, that guy. The direction of the show, it starts with you following Sam, and it's like this one take, and you feel the stress of everything. And the episode before, when Pod sings Jenny of Oldstone, and you have this montage of people preparing. Yeah, so episode 1, 2, 3 of season 8, I love. Especially episode 2. That whole episode is about preparing for, and you feel it. You feel the doom. You feel the doom and gloom. And you're afraid that characters you care about are gonna die when they sit there and drink. And Paul sings the old Jenny of Oldstones. And a complaint about episode 3 is that too few die of the main characters, which I wholeheartedly agree with. But that is sort of only the only thing sort of Arya too. I think when Arya kills the Night King, it feels like either it should have been Jon Snow, or it should have been one that you like, Sam, both are sort of obvious, but sometimes the obvious thing is, there's a reason it's obvious. Because it's satisfying. Because of all the build-up. Arya, it felt like, we need to do something people don't expect. It felt a bit like that. So Sam, Sam killing, you might remember Sam killing the White Walker, I think it's season 3 or something. Nobody believes him. If Sam killed the fucking Night King, nobody really believed him. That would be cool, interesting, something, right? But, or people believed in, and he got that full circle kind of thing. They did believe in before, but now they believe in whatever. So Arya, it feels like sort of, it's not Jon Snow, it's not that, it could go that direction or that direction, but they chose in the middle direction, and that's not completely satisfying. But other than that, there are the sequence when the Dothraki is built up to be like these extremely competent warriors, and especially I think it's episode 4, season 7, yeah. When the Dothraki rise, the Lannisters, they're attacking the Lannisters, and Daenerys comes with the dragon and everything, burns everything. That's awesome. And you really see how fucking threatening the Dothraki is. Like, oh shit. So when you have that, and you go to the Long Night, that episode, and in the beginning they get the fucking lady, the witch lady. The red lady. There's a fucking fire on all these fucking things, and they just ride, and you see this in the back. It's so dark, and you see all these flames, because of their fucking thing with flames on it, and it just gets lesser and lesser, and it diminishes more and more, and it just, oh shit, these warriors, these fucking warriors that everybody is afraid of, are just being crushed by this thing in the dark. You can't see this flame. The flames are just diminishing, and then the Dothraki are riding back, afraid and shell-shocked and fucked up. That's great. And I remember someone talking about that didn't make sense or whatever. I don't care about that. I don't care if it doesn't make sense plot-wise or whatever. It's really great way to build up tension and to show the threat early on in the episode. So you're sitting there, oh, what the fuck? So I love that episode. Yeah, well, more people should have died. I love that episode. I love those 3 episodes. But the problem starts seeking in episode 4. When there's a lot of things I like. That I love in episode 4 is when Jon Snow, they bury the dead outside of Winterfell, and Jon Snow has this speech. Now the watch has ended, blah blah blah, and he feels like a fucking king, and it's like, yeah, that's I love that. I love that speech. And I like, there's a lot of character things that I like when they celebrate and they drink, and there's a lot of things I like about that. about that episode. But it's so short, you know. It's just 6 episodes, so they have to cram so much shit into episode 4. Episode 4 should have been just, you know, them having fun and drinking and relaxing, like for an hour. But no, Daenerys has to, you know, go to King's Landing and everything, and all the Dothraki you thought were dead. No, it was just half. So we have a lot of Dothraki left. Oh, okay. We have a lot of Unsullied left. It was like it never happened. Like I did the Trump thing. Ugh. But yeah, and they're rushing the lady, pretty lady with the hair, yeah, whatever, her friend, Daenerys' friend, gets her head chopped off. And you see, like, for me, the idea that Daenerys goes bad, I thought that from day one, she's gonna go bad. But I thought they would, it feels like in the show, they kind of get too excited about building her up as being someone good. They should have showed her to be, you know, because it's too little too late, all the like things they put into, especially episode 4. Like, oh, she's now jealous of Jon, he doesn't want anything to do with her because of their family. Yeah, the North, people in the North don't accept her, blah 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 blah. Khaleesi, that guy, he dies, and the chick gets her head chopped off. There's a lot of things that happens, like, okay, so she goes insane. And you see that in the beginning of episode 5. She is like, now she's looking insane. But it feels so fucking rushed. And I gotta say, episode 5 is, direction-wise, it's the same guy who did Battle of the Bastards, Hard Home episode, the Long Night episode. So it's greatly done. There's a lot of really great, like, one-take scenes following Arya and everything when Daenerys is burning everything. But it feels shallow. And a lot of people are dying, but you don't feel it. Like, and also the Daenerys thing when she, like, when they, her and the fucking Unsullied and the Northmen, like, and the Lannisters just give up. They throw down their weapons, and Daenerys is sitting there, and the fucking clock thing, it's bing, bing. And then she gets crazy and she burns everyone. It feels like out of left field. It's not done. What I always said is that they should have done is, okay, so there should have been like, so you have the Lannisters, they give up, and you have this tension here, right? Between the Lannisters now have given up, and you have the Northmen and the Unsullied, and you have her with the fucking dragon. What it would have been cool if, like, the butterfly effect, you know? So if one of the Lannisters, like, had a bow, like, you know, in Two Towers, the old man with the Uruk-hai with Helm's Deep, with the bow and arrow, and he just drops and he kills an Uruk-hai. Something like that. Like an accident happens. Like the Lannisters accidentally kills one of the Unsullied. And that starts them attacking. And then that makes Daenerys burn everyone. Because she, like, if they build up like, oh, she thinks now the Lannisters will never give up. They're bad, blah, blah, blah. And they do give up, but she's now being confirmed that she's right because of this accident happening. That would be cool. Like this little small thing starts the whole thing. You know, the butterfly effect. A small little accident makes the fucking city burn. You know, that would be cool. But you know, the Hound fighting the Mountain feels very like fan service. I don't hate the episode, I don't. But it's, I can accept it for what it is. I feel people can't do that. Except like, okay, this isn't what I wanted. this isn't all like great either necessarily, but there are good things in here that I can appreciate. And then in the last episode, it's kind of boring. It's dry. It's a lot of talking, and Jon Snow. I personally think that Jon Snow should have become king. I know it's like, again, it's like everybody would have guessed that, but it's just because people would have guessed that would happen doesn't mean that it shouldn't happen, because you build up to that thing. It doesn't feel rewarding at all or satisfying in any narrative way that Jon Snow now is back in the north. So it's a few hours later, but we'll continue. I will continue the whole Game of Thrones thing. Wait a minute, is that better? Is that whatever? Yeah, Game of Thrones thing. The Jon Snow. That's not satisfying ending. Arya trying to, well, she's an assassin. She's a trained assassin. Everything she was about was revenge. And then she is going to be Christopher Columbus traveling the world, seeing what's out there. From an assassin who thinks about revenge all the time to a person that travels around the world and exploring. The arc that made completely sense was Sansa's arc, becoming the queen in the north. I get the Bran becoming king thing, but again, it's not set up that great. So the last 3 episodes, I do see the flaws in, but I choose to think about the good in that last season. The visuals is great. The effects are great. Sometimes I think that effects nowadays are really overlooked. I think about the Marvel films, how fake that looks. Thanos and everything. I think about the dragons in Game of Thrones, how much real they look. There's a lot of technical things that's done really, really well, I think. And again, it's not like fading out like a fart, like Walking Dead does. It has a conclusion, even. Well, and the Jamie thing, I'm more okay with that than other people are, I guess, because I look at it as not necessarily an arc that we expected, but look at a character that has good and bad in him. And that's the internal conflict all the time. It's not an arc from a bad guy being good. It's a guy that shows more of his good sides throughout the show. But yeah, season 7 I prefer over season 8. It has a lot of, I like most episodes, and it has, I think the seven episode thing works kind of. And then Jon Snow's arc I think is great, except for the ending. The whole meeting of Jon Snow and Daenerys, I think that dialogue works really well. I think there's a lot of dialogue that works really well, and people also have criticized the traveling, like in the earlier seasons. We saw the characters traveling from A to B, and we saw that, and it felt real, right? But in season 6 and especially 7, people went from this place to this place over like 5 minutes. I never was bothered by that because they cut time, like what is relevant. Also, I think that in season 5, the Sand Snake things, and also when I read about how this Dorne is in the books and the Prince of Dorne is in the books, I kind of hate the Sand Snake thing. And also that the prince gets just killed by this annoying character. That's the characters I hate the most. And I guess in season 8, it's overall good and bad. It's like, for me, the season is mixed. It's good and bad, but I don't hate it. And not at all. I don't hate season 8. I as I said, here's this. Well, the Sand Snake thing. I think that Game of Thrones season 8 doesn't get that bad as that storyline. And also, I just want to end this with a little story. So, me, my brother, and the father, in 2019, was going to watch season 8, right? Us three. And I thought, this is sort of nice, like fathers and sons. And my father was so hyped. And my father doesn't see, like, our generation and before us who grew up with YouTube, we have grown up as sort of, everybody is a critic now, right? So we grown up in this sort of place, environment where we're much more used to seeing flaws in things, I think, and also analyzing things, which I think is a great thing. But my father isn't, so he has this sort of thing where he just accepts what is. He sees, he's a fan of James Bond, right? He doesn't see a bad James Bond movie. He sees, well, that was different, but he doesn't criticize it in that way. He's the only person in the world who liked what's the Zack Snyder films from Netflix, whatever those were. He's the only person. And I didn't want to say to him that the whole world hated those films, because, you know, he liked them. Why should I take that away from him? But, so my father, I know my father real well, and I thought, like, for me, the season was mixed, as I said, but for me, like, seeing the show through his eyes helped me a lot. Helped me appreciate the season a lot more. However, my brother don't like much. He hates a lot of things. And he was, like, criticizing the show like most people. And he was visibly disappointed and visibly, like, angry at the show. And I felt so bad for my father, him, like, wanting to talk about the episodes. What do you think about this and that? My brother being like, I love my brother. He's a good person, which I will never be. And sometimes he can be a bit too negative to things. I try to like things, but anyway. And my father, like, glowing in his eyes and wanting to talk about the show after we saw every episode. My brother being more and more dismissal of the show and more disappointed. And I remember the last episode, which I was, it was what it was. And my father really wanted to talk about it to me and my brother afterwards. What do you think and everything? And my brother was that was shit, and he left. And my father, like, didn't get to vent, like. So I talked to my father afterwards, and I played with him and pretended I liked the season more than I did. And that helped, like, pretending to like it made me kind of enjoy it more. And it's like, also my ex-girlfriend, when she cried, I didn't never cry, except from Green Mile. Green Mile, I cry. Never cry of anything ever. But when she cried and had emotions connecting to films we saw or whatever, she cried easily. I like to see the film or the show or whatever we saw through her eyes. Okay, this makes her cry. I like this. Now, when we saw Green Mile together, she cried like fuck, and I hold back the tears because I didn't want to show people that I cried. So, I see the Green Mile, I only see that alone now. But yeah, I'm a very manly man in that way. I don't like to show emotions, not like emotions like that. But yeah, it helped seeing Game of Thrones season 8 through my father's eyes, and I experienced the value of kind of focusing on the positives in things and in a show like that. Yeah, I'm done. Bye.